Hi, I'm Doreen Morgan. I'm going to be discussing the social disorganization perspective, Chapter 7. Introduction. Individuals use substances depending on the community they reside in, racial and ethnic background, as well as events that happen in the environment during their lifetime. A quick change in the environment can lead to value confusion, belief disorientation, and loss of normative control, encouraging individuals to participate in using substances as a method of avoidance, relief, or coping with the surrounding environment. Chapter 7 analyzes reasons individuals change environments frequently, the struggle acclimating to new environments, as well as how these individuals are tempted or coerced towards substance use, which in turn leads the individual to deviant or criminal activity. Additionally, it examines how radical switches in an environment can cause stress, delusion, and disorder for those residing in it, and why, when this radical change happens, substance use, deviance, crime, and social problems increase. Sources of inspiration. There are many sociologists in Chapter 7 who are sources of inspiration for the social disorganization perspective. Together, W.I. Thomas and Florian Zanicki analyzed correspondence written and received by Polish immigrants that relocated to America. They found that immigrants were having difficulty adjusting to the new norms and felt stuck in the middle of the old and new worlds. Therefore, they developed an anything goes, nothing works attitude, thus making an easy transition into a life of deviance, delinquency, divorce, and mental disorder, and other forms of unruly behavior. Although the Chicago scholars stayed steadfast in their internal subjective concepts, they also made a conscious effort to objectively measure outside influences and forces that alter the process and consequence of social disorganization. Robert Park collaborated with Ernest Burgess, and together they developed an ecological model to depict the affiliations of individuals and their environment. Splitting the city of Chicago into urban areas, they concentrated on area characteristics for explanations of deviance, crimes, and other social disorganization problems. The areas became known as the concentric zones. 5 were identified by Park and Burgess. Each zone had its own characteristics as well as outcomes. The center zone focused on business and commercialism. The farthest out was the commuter zone, which housed the elite and people with social economic status. The zones in the middle are the working men's zones, which housed blue-collar workers with easy access to employment and public transportation. Characteristics of the residential zone were full of single-family homes, and residents were businessmen and professionals. The transition zone, located closest to the business zone, had rundown housing, poor and unskilled down and out people, as well as a red light business district. This zone is consistently being shoved by the expanding business district, and it bears and exemplifies most of the bruises and wounds of urban social change, which consisted of delinquency, school truancy, prostitution, gambling, substance abuse, mental illness, and adult crime. Park and Burgess's ecological model quickly became the trademark of the social disorganization perspective. After the Chicago school era, social disorganization theorizing progressed with area studies conducted by sociologist Bernard Lander in Baltimore, David Bordua in Detroit, Michigan, and Roland Chilton in Indianapolis, Indiana. These studies presented that ecological conditions such as inadequate housing, poverty, and strangers residing in one place predict a high occurrence of delinquency. Throughout the 70s, many sociologists gave strength to the social disorganization theory by studying deviance in developing countries. Kirsch and Weinberg analyzed juvenile delinquency in Accra, Ghana, and found that delinquent youths who were concentrated in areas were characterized by poor living conditions, poverty, substance abuse, breakdown of traditional family ties, and high rates of adult crime. Where in Kampala, Uganda, the findings were just the opposite for sociologists Marcia Clinard and Daniel Abbott, who studied property crime in two slums. Their findings were the slums had low crime due to homogeneity in population, family stability, as well as sharing in customs and intimate interactions. In the 1980s and 1990s, social ecologists shifted from value conflict to focus more on the association of community deterioration and economic decline to criminality. Along with physical, economic, and social conditions, sociologists started examining abandoned buildings, apartments in poor repair, trash and litter, graffiti, poverty, noise, congestion, lack of employment, limited job opportunities, and life cycles in community change. Ecologists Ralph Taylor and Jeanette Cumming followed the life cycle in urban areas from the increase in population density to change in racial or ethnic makeup to population thinning, and from building dwellings to residential decline or decay to housing replacement and upgrade or enabled gentrification. Their findings were community fare and crime rates increase when urban areas undergo such cyclical change. Additionally, social ecologists look at non-material dimensions of disorganized neighborhoods, including community fare, siege mentality, poverty concentration effect, and social altruism, to form concepts as to why crime and social problems either increase or decrease regarding common feelings shared by the neighborhood. There are studies done on substance and substance use in the perspective of social disorganization and are most often found in research literature of crime, deviance, crime, and social problems. In what are considered disorganized community, such as Indian reservations and ethnic minority neighborhoods throughout major metropolitan area, there are focused inquiries on drug dealing, drinking problems, and substance abuse. A long-lasting research tradition has yet to be formed through systematic theorizing and multiple empirical explorations.